Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another exciting podcast. Now, I'm with Kent Jenkins from Australia, but is based in Asia, who runs Sports Planet. And welcome to the show, Kent.
Welcome. Thank you very much. It's great to be on in the program.
And Kent, look, you're going to be one of my experts going forward, interviewing other interesting sports clients, sports academies, premier clubs about how they can drive engagement in Asia. And, you know, this podcasting series is all about how do we drive engagement online, and how do we drive conversion online as well. And why don't we just kick everything off, because, you know, you've built this fascinating virtual platform for Sports Planet to promote you know, clubs and academies much more effectively in Asia. But why don't we just kick off and, you know, what made you, you're living in Thailand at the moment, aren't you? Tell us why Asia, why promoting sports clubs in Asia?
Yeah, and I think when you think of Asia and you look at Asia and simply the dynamics of this region, you realize that it's still relatively untapped. And it's a very difficult market to get into. You know, if you're sitting on the outside looking in, you know, you're not sure which country to go to, you're not sure what language, the culture, the traditions. And so from our point of view, from working here for so many years, you know, in and out of Asia, we realized that the opportunities are just abound. So, and we've also noticed in the area of sport, how sport itself and the recognition of sport is growing as Asia and as Asians become better and, you know, more equipped in sport and more tuned to Western sports. The love of this is growing. And so our thought is to get in, to tap into this market, to open it up, both from an Asian point of view and export that interest out, but also for organizations looking to come into Asia, again, to help them to understand that, you know, the dynamics of this region, it's incredible. I mean, you're talking, you know, over 50 countries, you're talking over half the world's population. You know, from being in Thailand, which is in Southeast Asia alone, some 650 million people. So, you know, I keep using the word dynamics. They're simply amazing. So
I think
it's incredible.
I mean, I've, you know, as a teenager and, you know, early on in my adulthood, I've been to, you know, a lot of the most popular Asian countries, you know, like Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, and, you know, and it's amazing how dense those countries are and the populations. Everyone's just so nice out there. And, you know, I always remember going to some of those sports bars. I think it was in Koh Phi Phi, you know, and they got this little bungalow on this beach, but there's always sport playing, you know, and it's international sport. And, you know, it's always, you know, made me wonder, and, you know, your sort of strategy really is, you know, helping a lot of these sports clubs, which you don't really see a lot of it in Asia. And I think it's just really daunting and confusing, isn't it? Like, how do you tap into the Asian market? Because you're right, there's so many different cultures, there's so many different, you know, languages, and where do you start?
Well, you can claim to have fans. And if you look at a lot of these international organizations, they claim to have millions and millions of fans. And how do you register that? How do you know that? Is it because of the merchandise sales? Is it because they watch you on TV? So the measurements of this really, you know, it's a bit loose. So what our idea is to reach into the communities, not just via English language, but also the local language, whether it's Malay, whether it's Bahasa, whether it's Thai, and actually get into the communities and really extend that brand, that team, that international organization, and embrace and engage with those communities. That is how you really can measure whether you've got fans. They love it. They love the attention. They like, you know, and so, if you look at the sports bars, it's a great way of coming into Asia because they're everywhere. They're set up predominantly for the expat communities to go down, you know, have a drink and watch your favorite team play. But beyond that, there's a serious business to it as well. And, you know, there's a branding and sponsorships and the opportunities, and even tapping into Asia as a talent market for sports people. You know, when a successful footballer baseballer, basketball from Asia makes it, they don't just come along. They bring enormous sponsorship revenue with them. And you see it in the English Premier League, some of the Asian stars playing for, say, Tottenham. You see it in basketball, baseball. And so the companies and corporations in Asia, they want to get behind these people. It's a success story. Then the communities get behind them. That's the success. So that's what we're about, getting into the communities and actually making your team, your organization truly engaging, not just saying, oh yeah, we've got 500 million fans. I mean,
yeah,
how do you know?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can buy them, can't you, quite easily as well?
Yeah, exactly right. You give out some
Yeah.
free jerseys, and of course they'll be your fans.
Yeah. So how was it
the other way about it? I mean, the other thing about Asia too is that if you look at the stats, some 60% of the world's youth comes or live in Asia. So that's, between the ages of 15 to say 24, 25. So it's around about 750, 800 million of the world's youth lives. And as people talk about Asia, it's the largest and the fastest growing consumer market. So when you put all these measurables together, I'll tell you, it's an exciting area.
And so what's happened since the pandemic? Has that changed businesses? Is it still commercial out there as much as it was before?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. I think like, last year, 2020 was a good year, pretty much in Asia. They weren't really affected. And then, of course, this year it's been completely reversed, where countries like Singapore, Thailand, Hong Kong, Vietnam, they've really been hit hard. Japan, we saw what happened with the Olympics. So the commercial opportunities never walk away. They may be dented somewhat. The other avenue, of course, is where you don't travel or you can't travel, not willing to travel to Asia. And that's where companies like mine come in and say, it's okay, you don't have to. Now, you don't have to. That's why we're here. So the opportunities are just as they are. And I think they'll increase.
And look, you just opened up another department, wasn't it? At Sports Planet USA. And
Yes.
You spent some time over in America.
Yes.
And
yes,
you came back and you were talking about, there was a lot of opportunities out there. And I think, you spent some pretty productive days meeting some pretty powerful, influential people. So tell us a little bit about the Sports Planet USA.
So I decided that I really wanted to bridge Asia with the West. And so the US was the first market to connect with. I mean, USA in sports is massive. It's number one. Nothing comes close. And so ultimately, for a lot of organizations and sports people in Asia, they look at the American market. I'm sure they look at Europe and UK for football, but overwhelmingly it's the American market. And so it was a good step forward for us to open up Sports Planet USA, a New York registered organization. So that's been up and running now for the last 2 to 3 months. And I went across there, and the idea now would be to start employing and having a team of people working for Sports Planet in America. So that's the goal in 2022. And so that would then bridge the gap by having the company in America and the company in Asia, Singapore based, and we bridge that together and we make the opportunity seamless. That's the idea behind this. It's no good just trying to be in one part of the world saying we can sell over there. You've actually got to be in both parts.
Yeah, because one of my companies that I had, we launched and got an entity in China, and that takes quite some time to get a company registered over there. But just before COVID, we were looking at running our big awards event and conference. And, again, what was really interesting with the Chinese community, they absolutely loved that our event had to have that Hollywood influence. And, they wanted all of these speakers or these people present at their event, virtually or, in person. But it wasn't necessarily the best. It was those that were, had the most exposure or on TV, but it had that real glitz glamour part to it. And I think that's where you know, for a while in the beauty side where I was starting it was marrying up, like you say, between America and that Asian community where they both love it. They both embrace it. And yeah, there's a lot of influence. And as you say, I think there's a lot of opportunity to bring that American style influence to Asia.
Well, I think for me, we all know the famous football teams, you know, whether they're from the UK, like Manchester United, Liverpool, Manchester City, whether they're from Spain, Barcelona, you know, Real Madrid, it doesn't matter, Juventus. We all know these names and they're here. You know, you see people with their jerseys. In America, we all know who the famous sporting organizations are. We know who they are, but they're not represented here. And yet they have fans here, funny enough. You know, whether it's basketball, whether it's baseball, you know, we get asked often, would we have tours to some of the basketball companies? Could we organize a tour group to watch a baseball game and engage? And so people know who these teams are, but they're not that well represented here. You don't see them, you know, you see the occasional guy with the cap on, but you don't really see it. And so the other idea, of course, is to go to these organizations and say they can be here. You know, they're not going to fall away from this. It's very successful, the opportunities, and it's, you know, but as I said, that's one of the drivers for America is, I mean, the market itself, you know, they say, I'm just looking at a stat, they say it's 50% larger than that of Europe, the Middle East, and Africa combined, the sporting market.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
Enormous, some $70 billion. So, you know, there's room for everyone. Put it that
so
way.
why do you think these sports clubs or academies, they haven't entered the Asian market? What have been?
I think a lot of them have, and I think a lot of them have struggled. And I'll go back to the very start. So if I want to go to America, okay, the biggest challenge might be, which state do I go in? And I can make that decision based on ease of business, taxes, you know, what other organizations or competitors that I've got in that area, the depth for the sector or industry that I'm going into, where it's based. But in Asia, you know, you have to consider the country. Every country works on its own. Every country manages itself. If I come into Singapore, I'm in Singapore. I'm not in Indonesia. I'm not in China. I'm not in Japan. And so now, do I have to open up 50 different companies? Or do I need a representative body where I can spread right across? What I think is that organizations have looked at Asia, attempted to come in one or two countries. They haven't been that successful. And to be fair, they probably haven't been managed well locally. And so what my message to them is, you know, don't make those same mistakes again. You know, we actually help organizations come into Asia. And that means spreading across, you know, if it's the 10 countries in Southeast Asia, it's here. And I think where companies have looked at Asia, they just find it too hard. In fact, over the last couple of weeks, one of the UK's leading Premier League teams made a comment indirectly back to us about their engagement potentially with us in Asia. And their comment was, you know, they spend a lot of money in America. They think they get it right. They've spent a lot of money in Asia only to get it wrong. And whatever they've done in the past, it simply hasn't worked. And then when they go through the reasons why it hasn't worked, it's exactly that. They're backed with the wrong people. They've gone into the wrong country with that, and thinking they're coming into Asia because they've gone into, say, Indonesia. No, Indonesia is just one segment of Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
You know, so this is their dilemma. And this is.
But do you think, you know, just like America, you know, when I was launching my business for the first time, you know, I always got told, you know, start with a state of America. Don't go for the, you know, for the whole of America, because every state's a country. So if people are looking to launch into Asia, would it be, is it the same philosophy where you should target one country and then expand, or is it easier to launch it to all of the countries at the same time?
Well, I think up until recently, you would select one or two countries and enter those countries purely based on who you are, what the brand that you represent, and what you're trying to achieve. And that is, you know, purely looking at the strategy and the target market that you're going to enter. Now, through the introduction of exciting new platform that we have put together, you can actually enter every market, and you can do it virtually. So you can actually do it, you know, from your head office in America. So we've opened up Asia in an incredible way for these organizations to come in. And now they can actually have access right throughout Asia. And we complement that with localized marketing and community engagement. So this is a very exciting step, a very advanced step for a lot of organizations.
Yeah, and it's exciting. I think, you know, what you've done with Sports Planet virtually is,
yeah,
it's given a lot of premier sports clubs and training academies, isn't it, a lot of ideas, because the way you've designed it is it gives that immersive experience. You click and you go in, and you go into the lobby. You can go into the merchandise store where you can, you know, order products, or you can, like, you host, I think you were saying, a lot of your meetings, and you've got that president's office, which you go up the elevator and you're on top of the stadium and you have all your meetings. I mean, how has that impacted your sales calls, your sales meetings, when you're inviting clients into that environment that, I suppose, that sets the scene for what you're trying to sell? Promotion.
Oh, they love it. I mean, they simply love it. The thing about technology is, once you introduce technology, a lot of people tend to take a step back, and they do that because they have to think about what this technology is and how it's going to impact them. You know, maybe they don't fully appreciate it. They don't want to come across, you know, dumb. So they think, oh, but when people get in and talk to us and see it, they're excited, because they can represent and reproduce everything that they have, all the experiences that they have in front of them. They can do this now in Asia. In fact, they can do it globally. It doesn't just have to be for Asia. And so, you know, we have locker room experiences now where football clubs actually have replicated a locker room experience. So I go into that team's locker room. I can click on any of the football players, past and present. I can relive fantastic moments. I can engage with the players. I can buy their favorite jerseys. I can watch, you know, their videos that have been downloaded. Clubs will allow them to send messages of support. This is how the fans and sponsors want to see. They want this engagement. I can go onto a football field. I can understand program registration. So, you know, if I was a football academy or a clinic in, say, Spain or the UK, how do people really know what I do? Okay, I go onto a website. It's one-dimensional. I look at some pictures. Maybe they have a video of a guy kicking a ball. Okay, it's going to cost me a lot of money, but I'm not really sure what I'm getting. And how do I compare that against everything else? So now all of those experiences can be brought onto the platform. And so, you know, you're truly allowing potential buyers to engage, you know, come into your lounge, go through a virtual experience, watch videos. They can even engage, talk to people live through, you know, anything that you want to do can be done. And so, yeah, it's very exciting.
And what's the future for Sports Planet? I mean, I really was loving how you were talking about building out this sports village. You know, you've got this hub at the moment, which Sports Planet's at the core, but you had some great ideas of building out like almost a sports, like an Olympic village. It sounded amazing.
Yes. Yeah, our whole intention is to build like an Olympic village that just keeps on growing, a Sports Planet community, which will be made up of individual sports. We can have basketball centers, we can have hockey centers, we can have cricket fields, we can have rugby, you know, we can have anything. And individual organizations who wish to participate, what will happen is that they'll come in, they'll open up their own center of excellence. They can open up anything they want. We can have live pre-recorded videos. You know, we can have matches being shown live. We can have anything you want. You're only going to be, you know, able to grow through this type of platform. And what we then do is connect to the community that you're looking to get in Asia. So, you know, rather than wasting, you know, dollars and hitting markets that simply aren't going to engage, what we do is we complement that by getting into the right schools, universities, communities for your brand, for your product.
Yeah.
So I think the future is very, very exciting. A lot of the future will, yes, be virtual, but only virtual in nature. We're still having everything live, everything real. Imagery can be your choice. It can be real. So what we're saying is we're taking the experience of Europe or America and bringing it into Asia. and allowing people to engage. And I think that's very exciting. Hopefully in 2022, our aim will be to open up Sports Planet Europe or Sports Planet UK, and then total world domination. Of course, there's nothing else left.
I love it. I love it, Kent. I would expect nothing less of you apart from world domination.
Right.
I think I've used that
right.
a couple of times myself. So
that's right. So I would say to everyone, please get onto sportsplanet.com, have a look, check it out, and talk to us.
Awesome. No, I really appreciate the interview. Yep. And again, I'm going to get you as an expert, actually doing some interviews with some of the sports clubs that you bring on within your sports village. And you're going to be interviewing them about how they're creating engagement and conversion online. Because I think, it is such a new hot topic at the moment. And I think people are still struggling on how can I get that engagement right now? Everyone's got a website. We can do digital marketing. We can pay for advertising on Google, but that's fine. But everyone else is doing it. It's very competitive. But what you've created on Sports Planet and the opportunity to bring those clubs and academies in such a different way for Asia, but I can see it actually being just taking off in their own local markets, because again, what you've created is something so different. And I'm looking forward, everyone that's listening, to go check out, sportsplanet.com on.
It's a great opportunity, not just to grow your brand, but sponsors of your brand. They get introduced into new markets.
Yeah.
So that's, and we're talking the world's largest market. And then of course, the opportunity to grow and through new sponsors from the Asian side. So check us out.
Super exciting.
For Sports Planet.
Thanks, Kent. Really appreciate it.
All right. Fantastic talk. Take care.